YouTube? Welcome back. This is the Allegheny Northern in N scale, and we are doing the 1 week late August 2024 layout update. And as promised, I have a lot of stuff to go over with you, so stick around and we'll go over what got done in the month of August. Okay, in the intro to next week's video, you are going to see a bunch of these little shrubs and plants that I picked up. And they are by two companies, AK Interactive, which I think everybody knows because I've talked about them before. And I think the other one's called like Little Green World or Little Green Stuff or something like that. We'll go through it next week, but they really make some nice little shrubs that look like dead grass and frosted plants and all kinds of cool stuff. And just did a little bit of detailing. Planting, if you will, here in the winter scene. And I'm also going to take you over here to a little warmer scene. And you can see that those low shrubs have been added. They look really good. They really bring out the sort of fall color in town. And little grass tufts really go a long way in adding some realism to the scene and just give it a more 3D look to what you're going for, and rather than just being one muted color and sort of almost one-dimensional, those little shrubs sort of make things pop, and they make little scenes like that look just a little bit more real. So those are all over the layout. Let me show you a couple more spots here where that technique was employed. Don't get dizzy as I spin you around here. And yes, I probably could have paused the video, but then you wouldn't have gotten dizzy and it wouldn't have been as fun for me. So there's some of those little, I don't know, briars, weeds, whatever they are. Added them here along the winter scene. Just some of the tougher grass that would be going on through. Added a little bit more to the creek there. And then if we come down here, there are just a few outside the house in the front and around the side here. And then I don't mind that giant hobby knife, utility knife. So right there. Okay, continuing on with a theme here and some shrubberies and the low grass. I did get some stuff added here to the rear and metal siding, and if we just slide these cars out of the way, I did do some still shots here to show you what that looks like, but very happy with the fine details added here along the track side and those little tiny grass tufts between the rails. And I continued that down here onto these secondary tracks where maybe maintenance isn't going to be that great, and so you can see those little tufts all sort of growing up there between the tracks. Okay, so those were the major accomplishments of the month of August. However, there was a little bit of progress in the expansion, and I'm going to show that to you here, but we're not going to go too far in depth in it because that's going to be its own little video series, and so I don't want to really get too much into it, but since some work was done, I'm going to show you what we got done. So let's just go ahead and spin around here and I'll show you what we got. So this is what we got. Continuing off of the port scene here, so there's the port, right? And this is going to be where things start to get interesting. So we've got this framing built into here, all the way down here, and then already past the electrical equipment and onto the other side here. So this is going to be a removable section that most of the time will not be removed. It'll only be removed when I need to get either into the cable stuff or into the power stuff. But that is kind of sort of where we're at right now. And the parts to fit in here are just down there. They're just not assembled. So they've already been cut. Now, this is going to extend all the way through the stairs as this one does. But in order for that to happen, this needs to drop down. It's not going to be this steep grade anymore. And so when I drop this down, actually both of these tracks are going to end up going probably through that same opening in the stairs, believe it or not. I haven't checked the math on that yet, so that might get a little funky. But basically, this is going to drop down probably about an inch to an inch and a half. So where you see it kind of gliding over the stairs here, I'm going to run a nice sheet of masonite there to carry the track. But this is all going to come down. And of course, when that happens, that's going to ease this grade all the way along here, which is kind of rough. From this section right here, the grade is pretty steep. So it's probably close to 3.5%. And although the trains don't have too much issue with this side, they sure as crap do on the other side. So I'm gonna show you how this is gonna play out. Wide angle here. What's gonna happen is this whole section is gonna drop down, right? Okay, so when it drops down, that is going to mean that this whole section here also has to drop down. And when it drops down, that's going to orphan the land bridge, which is back there in the dark. You can't see it, but it's not going to be at the right elevation anymore. So that's going to cut off access from the lower level to the upper level. So right now, I am not going to extend that any further, because to do that, of course, will mean I would have to readjust those legs and everything, and that's going to wreck my operations. The other thing that happens is when the upper level then starts coming around this way, then this whole section here actually comes up a little bit to level out. So the yard's going to get reworked, that grade's going to go away, and this is going to even out a little bit, which means this bridge here will no longer connect to this lower section. And so in order for me to continue on this section any further, I have to lose operation of my layout. So this is going to be on pause here for just a minute, and we're going to jump into the back area. So the area that we're going to be working on is going to be right behind this cutout. Okay, so what ends up happening is this section disappears, right? This becomes the new walkway, that wall disappears, and this layout continues onward. And so that section back there I'm going to start working on, which means my temporary helix has to go away. Some of that framing that's in front of the meters and all that stuff, that's all got to go away. That's going to be the next section. So I am going to end up orphaning my upper and lower levels. And after that point, then I can start looking at expanding this section out that way. And the reason I haven't started looking at that just yet is because it'll be a whole heck of a lot easier when this is all removed and I can actually put the aisle in here, and then I can actually access all of that. So the next section that I'm going to be working on is actually behind the layout here, and I'm going to be working on getting all of that done, and then that will let me do the entire area behind the layout, so to speak, behind the furnace, get all the 2 staging areas back there built, and get the workbench reconfigured and the helix built. And after that point, I have to start moving actual layout sections. So from there, the next thing that'll happen is we will go over to here. We will raise this section up, which will orphan off our lower area, so we won't have continuous running on either the upper or the lower level. We'll continue that build along the back, and then we'll continue this build along the front. and then the coal mine area is going to move over. That's going to free up this area, which moves back there. So then I can just swing that over onto the framing that's already built, and then we can start putting things back together. Now, that's a ton of work, right? So what I'm doing is, because I know what size the platform, so what size the tabletop is going to be, I am going to pre-cut all of those pieces, sort of pre-assemble and pre-fit them so that I can keep the layout running as long as I possibly can. And when I actually make that move, then the downtime is less because stuff's already built. So, going to be a whole nother video series on all of that, step by step, how I built this, what I'm doing, how I'm building it, how I'm measuring everything, my kind of process. Just wanted to show you where I'm going, show you where I'm going to be here in the next, say, month or two, because this is going to be priority for the next probably month or two. Well, the weather is good and I can still get outside. So that's where we're going to be at with those items. And that is going to be the primary goal of the next couple of months, is working on that part of the layout. The other reason I did not want to take everything apart was because, of course, I do have the N-Scale weekend coming up, and I'm probably going to get some stuff that I'm going to want to run, so I don't want to take everything apart just yet. Okay, so that's it for August. I'm going to be real honest with you. The next month is looking like it's going to be a lot of expansion work, so probably not going to be a whole lot of modeling work, but I guess that it's all part of the game. So we're going to be working on a lot of the expansion work. That's going to take up most of my time. Obviously, I'm in a little bit of a race against the weather here, because right now it's nice and it's easy to work outside, and in about 2 months' time that is going to change very drastically. And I really don't want to be cutting lumber during the cold weather, just because it's just not pleasant. So this is going to take up a lot of time, and I have an interest in getting the layout not complete, but operational as quickly as possible. So going to spend as much time as humanly possible working to that end. And of course, that is going to mean a lot of work. And speaking of work has been extremely busy. So it's been, when I've come home, I've just been too tired to come down into the train room and play with the trains. It's been too much. So didn't get as much done as I was kind of hoping from the modeling side, because I typically model during the week and then I do the bigger stuff during the weekend, and that just didn't happen. So coming up here, I am going to hopefully get a little more time down in the train room and be able to do a little more modeling as well. But I'm focusing on the build more than anything. So in the next month, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start boxing things up. So all of these coal cars and these locomotives, everything that's on the upper layout is going to get boxed up. The buildings are going to get moved. All of this stuff is going to go away. And I'm going to get prepared for the move. And in the process of doing all of that, obviously, I am looking at some cars that just are not going to be coming back to the layout. They're going to be getting replaced with newer versions or better versions. And so some of that stuff just will go in a box and it will come out of the box again. It's going to be sold off, and some of it just needs to be stored and put back. And then I've got to decide during this downtime if I'm going to take any time to weather some things before they come back on the layout. So there's a lot going on here. I've got work for days and days and days, and I'm just going to have as much fun with it as I can as I work through this process and take you guys along with me. So until we meet again we'll see each other again, I guess, next week. But of course, that has been tape delayed, so to speak. And if you are going out to the Altoona show, and I'm going to be there on Saturday. I usually like to get there early and get through Saturday morning, because then we spend the rest of the day out at Horseshoe Curve if the weather is good. So that will be that'll be a play this year, and stay tuned for a couple more posts on the Altoona weekend coming up here.